and EBT benefits need to go back to basics. They were created to help people get by, not live a life of luxury on the taxpayer's dime.
So that's called dignity policing, which comes from the idea that poverty should look humble. For more on that, let's go to the research. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Shauna, and I'm a PhD who does hot takes with citations. This is part 1 of a 5-part series where I'm going to be breaking down specifically this video that I'm stitching based on 5 different theories that I think to help explain all of the different myths and stereotypes that we keep seeing around people who use SNAP benefits and food stamps. So let's go back to dignity policing and this idea that you should look humble. What this ends up meaning is that if you're struggling, you should act like it in a way that is convincing to other people. In other words, there's a specific performance that people want of poverty. Often, they want you to be quiet, grateful, as this creator said, and visibly deprived. Any sign of joy or self-expression often gets read as proof that you don't deserve or need help. Sociologist Alison Pugh calls this the dignity of consumption. And what that means is that even small purchases like a new outfit or a birthday cake or new nails, as people like to talk about, can help folks, specifically help them to feel like they still belong in community life. The trick is that when poor people do it, we treat it like a moral failure. Like I've discussed in previous videos, study shows that moral emotional content spreads so much faster. Outrage about someone buying chips with EBT gets people really worked up, and that means engagement, so the platform keeps feeding it to us. And here's the truth. The average SNAP benefit is about $6 per day. There's no luxury here, just survival with small moments of normalcy, because ultimately dignity policing isn't even about saving tax dollars. It's about controlling who's allowed to feel good, because we've decided that poor people only deserve to survive, not to thrive. Follow for more hot takes with citations and stay tuned for part 2.
Or did you just go buy a bunch of processed garbage?
You know that dry ass toast you're choking down is processed too, right? You guys know that I've always said I don't kink shame, but I'm going to make an exception because I don't understand this kink. I'll never understand it. Taking pleasure in knowing that families are going to go hungry, elderly people, disabled people are going to go hungry, like kids are going to go hungry, like what is this called? What do you call this? People who get off on knowing that parents are gonna have to tell their kids like, hey guys, if we wanna have Thanksgiving dinner, we're gonna have to go to the food pantry. Or parents are gonna have to possibly ration their baby's formula because they don't have enough money. And the way that she's ascribing this morality to poverty and to hunger, like if you are hungry or you are poor, it is your fault. It is a moral failing of your own. Not at all mentioning the systems that make people poor and keep people poor. Another thing she fails to mention or understand is that so many of us, herself included, are just one medical emergency away, one car accident away, one natural disaster away, one round of layoffs away from being one of the people who is standing in line at the food pantry. And apathy is one thing, not caring whether people eat or not, that's one thing. But this is sadistic. This is sadism. This is pathological. Like taking pleasure and being like, well, it's your own fault that you can't eat. Flaunting food in people's faces in situations where their food is no longer stable. And their ability to attain food is no longer going to be stable. I don't know. It's sick. There's something fucking sick about it. Anyway, if you have the ability, please check your local food banks to see what they need. I know a lot of places are asking for things like diapers and formula and obviously food. If you can't make donations of food, if you can make small donations, monetary donations, obviously you can do that. But there are going to be a lot of people that are in need. So don't be like her. Give a shit. Give a shit about other people.
A post is going viral after a MAGA mom who's on SNAP benefits called out her family for not lending her money for groceries. In this Facebook post, this mom said that her husband is on the GI Bill and she has 2 kids. She continues by saying she's at her wit's end and she's overwhelmed and doesn't know what to do. She said that she asked her husband's mom, and the mom responded with, "You voted for this." Now, of course, I had to read through the comment section on this post, and the comments varied. In reading the comment section of the post, it looked like people were split. Some, who have great relationships with their family in light of different political stances, said they would help, while others said they've had complete falling outs with those family members and they would not help. What are your thoughts? If you were in this same situation, would you help this family member and use it as a teaching moment about the impact of politics on people's lives? Or would you say, FAFO, too bad, so sad?
Maga Hypocrisy knows no boundaries. So this is one of the finest videos I've ever made, and keep watching until the end. So I just popped up to say hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and it's always amazing having you here. So let's continue watching, and I'll be making my conclusions at the end of this video. So let's continue watching this video. It's really amazing.
The system doesn't need to silence the poor anymore because now the poor do it for them.
This message is for all the people that are complaining that they're not getting their food stamps for November. What did you do with October's food stamp money?
Every few weeks, she posted another rant about people on food stamps. One week, she's tired of hearing people complain. The next, she says she literally wants to fight a woman over what she bought with her EBT card. And I couldn't understand the fixation. Why was she so obsessed? Until I saw this.
I've been on food stamps before because I had to.
It's what happens when struggling people start punching down on struggling people. When you somehow convince yourself that you're middle class, but you're actually poor. That's how the system wins, by getting people to fight each other rather than questioning it. Struggling people turn on other struggling people instead of realizing they're all being squeezed by the same system. This part stood out to me.
And not for nothing, I saw this woman that said she was getting $1,100 a month in food stamps.
But here's the twist. That video was probably fake.
So guess what I'm doing for the first time in 12 years? Okay? I am getting up, I'm ready, did my hair, took my shower, brushed my teeth, and I'm going to do my community service hours. Why community service hours, do you ask? Because they told me in order to keep my food stamps, I would have to do 15 hours of community service per week. That's at minimum. I can do more if I want to, which I probably will because I don't have anything else going on. And my kids are in daycare since I qualified for subsidized childcare.
This woman is actually a satire creator. Her bio literally says, satire mom content, rage bait. Usually she tags it as satire, but that day she didn't and people believed her. Her comments were full of rage. Lazy, entitled, stealing from taxpayers. But rage gets clicks. And when fake content goes viral, it turns real people, real families who actually need SNAP into punching bags. And then there's this one.
Y'all ain't hear me. They cut my food stamps. I ain't paying for none of this shit. I got babies at home that gotta eat. You think I'm just gonna leave my cart here? Hell no. I ain't paying nothing. I'm walking out with it. Try and stop me.
The food was already on the belt. If she was stealing, why load it up? Because she's not real. The woman doesn't exist. The entire video is AI generated. And people still flooded the comments, calling her names, mocking her weight, her class, her existence, all over a person that literally isn't human. And as someone who is constantly accused of being AI, I want y'all to learn the difference. Real people, real stories, real voices are being drowned out by fake ones, and it's only making us angrier at each other.
If you're on food stamps, you get a pre-selected box of meat, bread, rice, food staples, and fruits and vegetables. No more handing you a debit card filled with other people's cash for you to go load up on Oreos. The goal here is to keep you from starving because taxpayers do not need to bankroll your junk food pantry or your health problems.
I know that part of the appeal of being a conservative content creator is the fact that it doesn't really require you to be clever or creative or intelligent or well-researched in any way. But even by the standard that y'all have set over on your side of the aisle, this take is pathetically ignorant and lazy for multiple reasons, not least of which is the fact that conservatives have already attempted this exact idea multiple times, and it has failed spectacularly every single time. Starting in the late 70s, it was the USDA's Food Distribution Program on Indian Reservations, or FDPIR, where they shipped culturally inappropriate processed food items to reservations across the country. Then in the 80s, it was Reagan's government cheese. And then in 2019, it was Dear Leader's American Harvest Box, which had to be canceled after they realized that the administrative cost of shipping boxes of shitty non-perishable food is, surprise, exponentially more expensive than the administrative cost cost of food stamps. So we already know that food boxes are, one, way more costly, and two, way less effective at addressing food insecurity for the many diverse populations that make up our country. In other words, you are literally advocating for wasting more money to accomplish less for the sole purpose of that tingly feeling it gives you downstairs when you get to torture poor people. And personally, lady, I don't want my tax dollars to subsidize your kinks. But on top of all of that, your take is also incredibly ignorant of the actual structural barriers that low-income Americans face around food. And I want to talk about what those barriers are, so thanks for the opportunity to do that. For context, I previously ran digital communication for Medicaid in the state of Oklahoma, and obviously Medicaid and food stamps often serve the same people. And one of the projects that I helped develop while at Medicaid was a series of cooking videos filmed with professional chefs who were given a $40 budget and a strict set of guidelines and asked to create a family meal that the average Medicaid recipient could make for their own families. And without fail, every single one of those professional chefs talked about how hard it was for them to come up with a recipe that they could make within those constraints. Constraints which, again, were specifically designed to mimic the barriers that low-income Americans face in their own lives every single day. Barriers that you are refusing to even acknowledge. So here's the reality. Transforming a box of basic pantry staples like dried beans and flour into something edible requires a lot of structural support that most people take for granted in our own lives. For example, when the state of Massachusetts launched its Project Bread program to combat food insecurity, 82% of the participants had to request basic kitchen supplies like pots, pans, and cooking utensils in order to actually prepare the food they were given because they didn't have any of it already. 40 of the participants straight up did not have refrigerators, and some of them had been living without a fridge for years. Countless others technically had access to a fridge, but they functioned too poorly to actually store perishable items. And many of those participants were afraid to ask their landlords for a replacement out of fear that their rent would be raised or they would be evicted. Fears that, frankly, probably weren't all that unfounded in this country. So when conservatives say, just give them ingredients, what they really mean is, let's make poor people's lives harder so that we can feel morally superior. Because none of this is actually about nutrition for them. If it were actually about nutrition, they wouldn't shrug their shoulders or outright cheer at the news that hundreds of thousands of American families, including lots of children, are about to lose access to food stamps. If it were actually about nutrition and wanting people to eat healthy and be healthy, conservatives would be spending their time right now calling their elected officials to demand that food stamps go out on November 1st instead of making dumb videos like this. Because the only thing less healthy than eating junk food like you're so worried about is eating nothing at all. And yet, these so-called champions of nutritional health seem practically delighted at the idea that so many low-income Americans will go hungry this November. But you can't have it both ways, lady. You can't claim that you just want someone to be healthy while also saying that you want them to go hungry. It doesn't work that way. So spare us the moralizing about how you just want food stamp recipients to make healthy choices. No, you don't. You want folks to not be poor, and if they can't magically pull that off immediately, you'll settle for having them be dead instead.
That mom that used her EBT to spend $27 worth on cupcakes so her son can take them to his ABA therapy session for his birthday. This is why I don't feel bad about EBT being cut off in the month of November. You don't spend it right.
Honestly, I don't know what to say. I watched that video through and through multiple times, just trying to find the humanity in all of it. And I just couldn't. I just could not find the humanity in any of it. The empathy, where is it? I mean, it's his birthday. They bought cupcakes for his birthday. And the crazy part about it is he didn't buy the cupcakes just for himself. He brought it so he can take it to his friends and they can celebrate and eat cupcakes with him. And so what? They bought it with EBT. You're talking about your tax dollars going to EBT. You don't care about your tax dollars funding the president's golf trips? Not for his birthday, by the way. He's just going just to go. What about the vice president's multiple vacations? At this point, I can't even count how many vacations he went on. You're not mad about that, but you get on this app talking about a kid buying cupcakes for his friends for his birthday. Like, please tell me, how do I have conversations with people like this? How do I have conversations with people who care more about people buying cupcakes for their child's birthday over the fact that their tax dollars are going to go fund wars? Then you go on about how you can make it cheaper. Listen, multiple times have I broke down the prices of things to make, and so I'm not going to do it here, but you're not going to make it cheaper by scratch. You're just not going to do it. You're not going to have the same quality. You're not going to have the same time that it took to make them. You don't know what this mother has to go through. And the one time of the year this kid gets to celebrate something, you get on this app and you talk about how she should not have bought cupcakes for her kid. Like, what do you even say to these people? Y'all want to regulate food stamps more than y'all want to regulate pew-pews. Like, come on, man. They're freaking cupcakes. Meanwhile, your favorite billionaire just bought his son his third yacht for his birthday off the tax breaks that you are funding. When this is all said and done, I hope we don't forget the people and the way that they think, because I know I'm not going to forget. But let me know what you guys think. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
As a Christian, and I agree most MAGA Americans will agree with me, I want my tax dollars to help the poor American mom. The poor American mom with 3 kids. Feed our children, you know. I want my tax dollars to help the poor American mom with 4 kids. Feed a family. That's what I want my tax dollars to do. Because what is the essence of being a Christian if you don't care about the poor? You know what I mean? So let's continue watching, and I will be making my conclusion at the end of this video.
My parents absolutely were the ones that were abusing the system when I was growing up. They wanted every single free handout that they could possibly get. And when they couldn't continuously get it from leeching money from my grandparents and family members and random acquaintances, they moved towards getting things like food stamps and having free school lunches and using food banks. Yes, they did have crippling addiction. They did have disabilities that they were dealing with, and they did work. They just couldn't get a good enough job for us to be able to pay rent, and also, you know, for my dad to be able to buy the medication that he was so addicted to. Essentially, my parents were the people that you worry about. The people who are abusing the system, the people who ruin it for everybody else. But the one thing that I have to say to all of that is that I, as a child of those parents, never asked to be born, and neither did my 4 brothers. I wanted a normal life. I wanted to be able to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I wanted clothing. I wanted Christmas presents. I wanted to be able to eat lunch at school with my friends. With food stamps, I was able to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. With food stamps, I was able to have Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner. With food stamps, I was able to, as a child, get the nourishment that I needed to grow, to learn, to be better than my parents. Yes, there are always going to be people who you consider abusing the system, who are going through things that make it really difficult for them to be able to support their family, so they need to be on food stamps, or who simply can't get a job that can pay them enough to live, so they need to be on food stamps. That's how the world works. That's how capitalism has set everything up. And maybe you don't think that they should be on food stamps, but God forbid their child who never asked to be born gets to eat dinner. God forbid their child who never asked to be born and just wants a normal life gets to have the nourishment they need to grow up and do better than their parents. This November 1st, when food stamps probably end up going away because the government will likely be shut down, support the people in your community who need it most. Donate to food banks. Donate to organizations that are providing food to those that need it. And maybe even offer up on your Facebook page or your Instagram page or wherever to sponsor a family who really needs it and throw a little bit of money towards them to be able to afford the food that they need to survive.
If you feel hopeless right now, I'm here to say some Trump supporters are actually regretting their votes. Estimates as high as 1 in 4 people who voted for Trump regret their votes. And on anonymous forums like Reddit, people have poured out their feelings about how much they regret voting for him. People like farmers who have been upset that they're not getting support and money is going to Argentina instead of them. Young voters who feel manipulated by the MAGA movement. And centrists who aren't necessarily committed to a political party have all expressed serious remorse over their vote. The fact that people are admitting that they're not happy with the election and the way things have been with Trump is a serious step in the right direction. As you know, in most cults, people who speak out against the leader are seriously punished. They're ostracized and experience a lot of hostility, which typically prevents them from speaking out in the first place. So although it may feel hopeless and like fascism has been descending upon us for a few years, there actually is a sign of some progress. That's why it's so important to have conversations with these people. If you're a white person and you have family who are Trump supporters, this is a really good time to try to get through to them, especially because a lot of Republicans want the Epstein files to be released, which could be used as a way to find common ground with them and convince them to not be MAGA anymore. Still have a long way to go, but the fact that his approval rating is dropping is a serious sign of good news.
MAGA men are not attracted to MAGA women, and that's why the uniformity exists in the MAGA women culture. That's why their clothes, their hair, their makeup, their cars, their music, their food, even down to their body sense, all are very similar. It's because they know that their subserviency is what keeps them, in play, keeps them in the game of marriage, of wifeness, of life, whatever it is to them. But MAGA men, if they are not attracted to men, they are overwhelmingly attracted to alternative women. And I say that as somebody who used to be in MAGA and as a bartender here in the South. MAGA men love alt women. They love chubbier women. They love women with yitties. They love women with thighs. They love the tattoos. They love the piercings. They love the hair. Most MAGA men are not attracted to the women that they have children and, spend the rest of their life with. They are attracted to the subservientness. And this creator that I'm going to tag underneath has done a really great job of clocking the amount of young MAGA men that have been in alternative spaces lately, hitting on women. And it's just, it's just very much a full circle moment, because I've been trying to talk about this forever, and everyone who just wants to say, oh, you're being mean to women. No, these women have designed themselves to be in this certain situation. Therefore, that's the world that they live in. And, criticism is not always a bad thing.
I was over at my parents' house the other day. I was helping my mom set up her Googles and smart TVs and things because she got new Wi-Fi and she didn't know how to update it. And I don't mind helping. She's my mom. She'll be 69 this year. And she's still significantly younger than the people that are in Congress making decisions about AI data centers, and she doesn't know how to update her Google. So that's a terrifying thought. But anyways, I had to go to her pictures to see her old Google password or whatever to update the new Wi-Fi. And the screenshots, it was just one Facebook misinformation meme after another Facebook misinformation meme. And it wasn't like I was trying to even find things to upset me. It's just there. And I even got my hopes up for a second because she had screenshotted like an entire article from our local paper about SNAP benefits being cut, only to the very next one being, if you're upset about your SNAP being cut, you can blame Democrats for wanting to give health care to illegal aliens. And I just started to cry. And you have to understand, these people raised me. They would give anyone anything. I've seen it. The generosity to the poor and the dissonance that's required to align yourself with this administration. There is no other word but cult. There really isn't. There's no statistic I can send them, no article I can send them. There's nothing I can tell them. They have an answer. And it's so funny to me. I held it back and I was like, you know what? Every fight I've ever had with them has ended poorly. I'm never gonna change their mind on anything. They have decades and decades of white Christian nationalists feeding them theology and decades of Fox News feeding them propaganda. They're goners. But they're my parents. And it's hard. But I just kept going about updating her stuff, and then I was working on her printer and I had to pull it up, and there's more information memes. I was trying to find a picture to print, and it was breakdown of Trump's spending and Obama's spending, and it's like all of these inflated, taken out of context budget spending for a man that's been out of office for almost a decade, as if that somehow justifies building a ballroom, not giving people their SNAP benefits. And then there's one, it's like a misinformation meme. It would take 10 seconds to Google these things. That's the craziest part of Hillary Clinton quoting about Trump would be a great president in 1994. One, she never said that. And two, you don't even like her. So what? Own the libs while everyone suffers? And there was one that said, thank you, President Trump, for fighting like a dog for no money for the American people. What planet are you on? What planet? And then I just started sobbing. And she's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Did you see something on my phone?" Girl, quit playing with me. I'm just like, I gotta go home. Like, I gotta go home. Like, for my peace, like, I knew if I stayed, I was gonna fight, and it would be counterproductive. The only positive of the entire situation is that I made a 2025 bingo card, which so much fuckery is on it that I did not anticipate. But in one of my little squares was choose peace over being right. That night, I was actually able to go home and check it off because I just went home. And she said, I don't even know much about I don't even keep up with politics, which MAGA loves to say. Oh, I just don't keep up with things. You had an awful lot of political screenshots on your phone for someone that doesn't keep up with politics. I said, I'm just running out of things to talk to you about, Mom. I don't know. I want to vent to you about how I'm worried about food insecurity for my patients and people in our community. I want to talk to you about how I'm worried about the state of this country for my children. I want to talk to you about current events, and I can't. Everything, when you are this, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing, everything is controversial. There's no topic left. I mean, we could talk about the weather, but then I don't know, you probably think that the Democrats are controlling the weather. I don't know. It's hard. It's so hard. And I know there's so many people that have it so much worse, and they're gonna be like, oh, white women tears. Fair enough. But, like, I love my parents so much. And, like, it just sucks. Because maybe this is always who they were. I just didn't see it. Maybe it's just gotten so much worse. But it's like I'm grieving people that are alive. And people make jokes like, just gotta cut out your MAGA family. It's not that simple. And maybe it is for some people, but I'm so codependent with my parents, and I just want so desperately there to be one scripture verse or one video or one thing that'll just, like, flip a switch. Let them see that they're not living like the Christ that they raised me to love. They're hurting real people with their beliefs. They're hurting me. It just sucks, bro. It just sucks. It sucks having MAGA parents. And MAGA siblings and MAGA grandparents and MAGA in-laws. I'm drowning out here, bro. It just sucks. Like, even to call human beings aliens. Like, it takes one simple Google search. The bill is right there. All of the things are right there. They don't want information. They want whatever aligns. It just sucks. I don't understand.
You know, thank you everyone for watching this video to the end, and it's always amazing having you here, my viewers, my subscribers. You really mean a lot to me. So MAGA hypocrisy is unmatched. You know what I mean? Because the other day we were really crying and really hoping that the government bails out farmers. The other day they were crying. They were really begging the government to give tax cuts to the billionaires. You know what I mean? But they don't want us to help poor Americans have a leg over the system, you know, pull themselves up, you know what I mean? Because what I believe is that in here, in the United States, the system is rigged. You know what I mean? If you are poor, you continue being poor. If you haven't inherited a generational wealth, you won't make it. As fellow Americans are suffering, Trump is using this as a leverage to do what? As a bargaining chip for his bill to get passed. You know what I mean? 40 million Americans, you know, and it's really saddening the amount of the number of Americans depending on government welfare. I think this should be a wake-up call for the government to look deep into the issues that are affecting Americans. But Trump would do so because what he wants these people as a voting bloc, these people depending on him, being reliant on him as a voting bloc. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that this should be a wake-up call. But Trump, as the loser he is, he would do so. He will start blaming Biden. He will start blaming Obama. 40 million Americans, 40 or 42, 40 million Americans are on government welfare. This is saddening. This is a national disaster. This is something unheard of even in third world countries. This is very bad. Why are 40 million Americans on government welfare? Do you know why? Because our system is damned. That's why I usually say capitalism has destroyed our country. And most Americans will agree with me. Capitalism has destroyed our country. We need government intervention when it comes to distribution of national resources. Because we can't have only a select few holding all the resources which are needed for human survival and abundance. There is literally no species apart from human that would allow a particular group of individuals to hold excess resources while people are suffering. You know what I mean? Because I believe if the system was fair, we wouldn't even have more than 10 million Americans on government welfare. We wouldn't have. We wouldn't have. Even that would be unheard of. That would be unheard of. Because the system would be fair. You could be aware that when you join the system, you'll play fairly, and maybe you'll win or you will lose fairly. But now, what I mean, when you get in the system, you have already lost before you began. So what I usually say is stay alert, stay focused, watch Blue Talk, Blue Vote Blue, and until the next video, thank you for your attention to this matter.